This is Khao Piak Sen, or Lao Chicken Noodle Soup. But if you're Vietnamese like me, you might look at this and think, hey, that looks a lot like Bánh Canh. And to me, that's actually one of the most beautiful things about Southeast Asian food. Because across the borders of Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, or Cambodia, many of our dishes often look and taste familiar as they share similar ingredients and cooking techniques. Now, it's so easy to get caught up in debating which country did the dish originate from, or which version is better. But the truth is, food travels, recipes adapt, and cultures blend. And what you end up with is a shared heritage that can be expressed in countless different ways. So maybe instead of competing, the better question is, what stories does each dish tell about the people who make it? Now for me, Khao Piak Sen isn't just Lao Chicken Noodle Soup. It's a reminder that food can connect us across borders and cultures. And today, I'll show you how to make it from scratch with 2 different ways to eat it. So do me a favor and make sure you like, comment, share, and save this video. Alright, Shell, remember to wash your hands. Now the first thing we'll do is quickly prep our aromatics, starting by cutting a whole yellow onion in half. Then taking a 3-inch nub of ginger, we'll cut that in half lengthwise as well, and don't worry about peeling it here either. Then to a dry pan on medium-high heat, we'll char both the onion and ginger for about 5 to 7 minutes, or until it turns a dark roasted color. And then alternatively, if you have an open flame, charring it over that is even better. Then I have a couple of stalks of lemongrass, and we'll cut off the root ends and the top. Peel the outer woodsy layer, and then taking the back of your knife, smash the lemongrass to help it release more of its aroma. Then I have some green onions and cilantro, and we'll finally chop up both of that. But for the cilantro, we'll want to reserve half the bunch, including all the stems, and that'll go directly in our broth later. Then I have some limes, and we'll just cut that into wedges. Next up, let's quickly make our fried garlic oil. And the fried garlic itself will be used as a garnish, while the oil will go directly in our broth. And you can use as much garlic as you like, so there's really no wrong answers here, but I'm using about 15 cloves, and we'll just mince that up really well. Then to a small pan on medium heat, we'll add in about a 1/3 cup of neutral oil. Add in your minced garlic, and we'll fry this for 2 to 3 minutes or until the garlic turns a nice golden color. Then using a fine mesh strainer, remove the garlic and place it on a paper towel lined plate to cool. Set the garlic oil aside for now, and then we'll prep our chicken. Now, typically for most recipes, I don't recommend washing your chicken unless you're making a stock or a soup. And all we'll need to do is sprinkle some kosher salt over the whole chicken and scrub that down. The kosher salt acts as a physical exfoliant that helps reduce some of the chickeny odor to ensure that your broth is really light and clean. But for most dishes, this step is pretty unnecessary as you're just splashing the bacteria around. Now give the chicken a thorough rinse with water to remove any remaining salt, and make sure you clean down your sink and nearby surfaces too. Now to a large stock pot, I have 6 quarts of boiling water. We'll add our whole chicken to the pot along with our charred onion and ginger. And if you like this recipe and you want to learn how to make more of your favorite Asian dishes, make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications to stay up to date on all my latest posts. Add in the stalks of lemongrass and a handful of our cilantro that we reserved earlier. Then I have about 15 lime leaves, which will give our broth a nice citrusy flavor, and we'll just crumple those leaves in our hand and add that to the pot as well. Pour in all the fried garlic oil that we made earlier, and then we'll bring the pot up to a rolling boil. Skim off any impurities that float up to the top, and then we'll reduce the heat to low and let this simmer covered with a slight crack for about an hour to an hour and a half, or until the chicken is fully cooked and tender. Now while your stock is simmering away, let's make our handmade noodles. And if you've never made your own noodles before, this can sound a little intimidating, but it's actually super easy. So to a big mixing bowl, I'm gonna combine 1 cup of rice flour with 1 cup of tapioca starch. Add in a pinch of salt, and then we're gonna pour in 2 cups of boiling hot water. Using a spatula, we'll start to mix that up, and feel free to play around with the ratio of rice flour to tapioca starch, as long as the proportions are equal to the amount of water you add. So personally, I like the 1-to-1 ratio as it gives me the exact texture and taste that I'm looking for, but if you like a softer, more tender noodle, add in more rice flour. If you like a chewier and stretchier noodle with more bounce, add in more tapioca starch. And with any of my recipes, I want you to use it as a base or foundation, and then adapt it to better fit your own palate and preferences. Now once the noodle dough has cooled down enough, we'll knead it by hand until it's smooth. Then we'll cover the mixing bowl and let it rest for 10 to 15 minutes to allow it to fully rehydrate. Now to roll our dough out, we'll add a generous amount of rice flour to our surface to make sure that it doesn't stick, and we'll just roll the dough out into a thin sheet. And you'll want the dough to be a little bit thinner than you might think, as it will expand a bit when you cook it. Dust the dough with more rice flour, and then we'll cut it into thin strips. Put the noodles into a mixing bowl and cover it with a damp towel until you're ready to cook. Now back to the soup. When the chicken is cooked through and tender, let's remove everything from the pot. We'll let the chicken sit for a little bit to cool down, and we'll discard the rest of the aromatics. Now for the chicken, you can cut it into thin strips, or you can shred it by hand. Just do whatever feels right for you. Then to season our broth, I'm gonna add in about 4 tablespoons of fish sauce, a 1-inch nub of rock sugar, and 2 tablespoons of MSG. And again, feel free to adjust the seasonings to your own palate. Give that a good mix, and just check out how light and clean that broth looks. With that done, it's finally time to put it all together. Now, we have a couple of different ways we can cook the noodles. So if you like your Khao Piak thick, you can cook the noodles directly in the broth, and the starches in the noodles will tighten that soup up. So let's add some of our broth to a separate pot, and we'll add in some of our shredded chicken. Drop in some of our handmade noodles, and these noodles cook up super quick, only needing about 1 to 2 minutes or until they float. Then to plate this, we'll pour all of it into our bowl. Garnish with green onions, cilantro, some of the fried garlic, fresh ground black pepper, and a squeeze of lime. Now that was the first way, and if you like your Khao Piak on the lighter side, we'll bring a small pot of water up to a boil and cook our noodles separately for 1 to 2 minutes or until they float. And then it's time to plate. We'll get our noodles into a bowl, top that with some of our shredded chicken, and ladle in some of that beautiful broth. And then we'll garnish this bowl with all the same toppings. Now you can also add some of your favorite chili oil right on top, and just like that, you've made the most incredible and authentic Khao Piak Sen at home. As always, the recipe and measurements are on my blog at feedthepudge.com. And if you've made it this far, let me know in the comment section, do you like your Khao Piak thick or thin? Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy.